Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live news up here at Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 and beyond. Coming up this evening here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. New twist. An ongoing 7-member ad hoc committee probing the leaked audio tape as National Security Minister Alfred Kandapa refuses to release his outfit's investigations into the leaked tape, describing it as classified.
They've done a lot of work on it. It's an interim report, but he will not share it with us. Because if you care to know, it's a national security document, it's not declassified.
We hear from the committee chair earlier today who addressed the press after the in-camera hearings. Stay with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Plus, former executive director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Professor Karakari, quizzes police over new communication strategy. We have details of his position and why he thinks the police must review that communication strategy, which the IGP defended quite forcefully yesterday that they're following international standards in that regard. Stay with us here on Hot Edition as a latest survey by Global Info Analytics reveals only 23% of first-time voters are affiliated with governing New Patriotic Party. This evening, we'll delve deeper into the report and what findings this means for the ongoing voter registration and the 2024 elections. Meanwhile, Law Society urges Electoral Commission to reconsider its stance on restricting limited voter registration exercise to only its district offices. After the exercise began yesterday, we'll give you an assessment of day 2 as well. The latest in the ongoing NPP flag bearer race, Kennedy Japan has picked number 1 on the ballot for the New Patriotic Party November 4 presidential primary. As contestants and elections committee reaches a consensus on the modalities, we'll bring you details plus the latest in business, sports and entertainment coming up for the next 60 minutes here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. I am Alfred Ocansey. Welcome. Let's get into the details now. And the National Security Minister, Alfred Kandapa, has refused to share the content of an interim report from the National Security Outfit regarding the leaked audio tape at the center of the alleged plot to have the president remove the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare. The Minister for National Security, Alfred Kandapa, told the committee that the document cannot be released to the committee because it is still classified. Now, this became known at the press briefing after an in-camera hearing of the committee in Parliament earlier today, which featured the Minister for National Security, Kandapa, and some key witnesses. That's Bugri Nabo and Samuel Atacha indicated that per the committee's own workings, they will still wait until this document is declassified. Let's take a listen to him.
Let's give you a bird's eye view of what happened. The first person we called upon was the Minister for National Security, Honorable Kandapa. And the reason why we called him is that Superintendent Asari had confessed that he appeared before the National Investigation Bureau. So we will not do a shoddy job by not calling the minister who has superintendents over that bureau, the NIB. So he came to say indeed and in fact, NIB called Superintendent Asari and the rest of them in relation to the same leaked tape. And they've done a lot of work on it. It's an interim report, but he will not share it with us. Because if you care to know, it's a national security document, it's not declassified. And in terms of law and the constitution, there's no way we share it with that. The members agree But Superintendent Asari, COP Mensa, and the rest of them, even Chief Bugri Nabu, they were present. The only person who couldn't show up was the IGP, although it was penciled for today. And they agree with what the Minister for National Security said. And then he was accordingly discharged, except that he tendered the statement he gave to the committee. So these were the proceedings that we had. Then we moved on quickly to the second tape. Remember, the first tape is the one that was in the public domain. Then it was challenged that it didn't represent the full conversation that Chief Bugri Nabu had with Superintendent Asari and then COP Mensa. And that has necessitated that we should receive the full tape. So the full tape was what we're trying to bring the attention of the witness to, and then we dilate on it. As a matter of fact, we're giving the second tape to them in advance, but they were complaining that they needed a transcription as well. So we gave the transcription to them. The IGP was attending to some other matter of national importance, and then we said, look, given all the circumstances, we'll just ask a few questions and ask this gentleman, Chief Bugri Nabu, a few questions, and then we adjourned. But we said that because of the nature of what is happening, we want to do a thorough job and end quickly. The nation cannot be chewing on this matter for too long, because it has a bearing on the security of this country.
So that's the chair of this 7-member ad hoc committee, Samuel Atacha, there. Let's say a bit further on this. My colleague Duke Mensah-Poku is a man. He sat through the press briefing earlier today. In fact, he's been on this particular hearings of the committee since the beginning. Duke, it's good to have you in studio with us as always. Now, beyond what Samuel Atacha said right now, talking about the nation cannot sit and on this matter for too long, what else did you glean from this in-camera hearing today?
What we gleaned from the meeting was that it got to a point in time where it was quite heated. I mean, the exchanges among the lawyers and the trying to get information out of Bugri Nabu, in the presence of the lawyers of in the presence of the lawyers of COP Mensa and Superintendent Asari and all of that. So that took quite some time. They were expecting the IGP to come in. We were also expecting the IGP to come in because we saw his lawyers, the Venerable Kwame and the his lawyer, who's also a member of the legal team at the police headquarters, the police officer superintendent, his other name escapes me at this moment. But we saw them in the morning early on. We were told that per the internal workings of the committee, they had intended to re-examine Bugri Nabu in public. So in fact, today...
I see.
Yes, so in fact, today, the committee started its work at usually where they would sit in public. That is at the committee room 1 and 2 at the new administration block in Parliament. So that's where we had all pitched camp. Before we realized, the members of the committee started picking their books and their documents one after the other, and then we sensed that something is going on. We also did our own investigations. We picked up intelligence that they had changed their decision to make it public. In fact, Kandapa's hearing was always going to be in camera.
In camera,
for
as
that,
was
it was
stated.
always. But it was Bugri Nabu's hearing that we got information that they intended to re-examine him in public.
In public.
But it turned out that it was going to be in camera, and yes, so we quickly followed up. I personally followed up. Went to where found out where it was taking place, where the committee was sitting. I saw the people who were supposed to be there, inside seated, but then I was turned away because obviously it's an in-camera hearing. So yes, we took up. We tried to get information as much as possible. What is not clear is whether the National Security Minister was there himself or he came by way of just a statement as the
But he was not At least for you journalists who were out there, you didn't see him.
We didn't cite him.
Getting in there.
We didn't cite him, but it's possible he came in camouflaged, disguised, and then came in to do what he was supposed to do and left.
I see. To the extent that Samuel Atacha made a statement in reference to what the National Security Minister is said to have indicated that he was not going to make the report available to the committee. It's possible it could be in the statement that was tendered in, but it's possible he was there. But yesterday, there was indication that Bugri Nabo had now tendered in new video. Some new evidence or sort of to the committee. So did that come up today?
So the committee initially, the first two hearings, there was a 50-minute long audio tape that was played to everybody's hearing, right? Mm-hmm. Now, that tape is what Bugri Nabo he categorically stated that he had done that recording. Is this same tape that Superintendent Asari said had been doctored? COP Alex Mensah said it was edited. Now, the committee later on, the chairman of the committee later on told us, I think on Friday, that they had secured a new tape, which is fuller, much more comprehensive. Yesterday at the hearing, the chairman disclosed that it was again same chairman Daniel Bugri Nabo who had given them this new fuller and much more comprehensive tape, which is now what IGP and his lawyers are going to study the transcription and the tape in fuller detail before they come for their own interactions. We are told that there's going to be cross-examination as well when the committee resits from the 2nd to the 5th of October. He told us, Atacha told us today during the press briefing that they will allow for cross-examination, which means that the lawyers for COP Alex Mensah can cross-examine Bugri Nabo. Bugri Nabo's lawyers can cross-examine COP Alex Mensah. We don't know if the IGP's lawyers will be allowed to cross-examine other people, but we are told that cross-examination will happen, even though that will happen in camera. We are praying that at least a little bit of that will be made public so that we'll see what is going on. But of course, if wishes were horses, beggars would cry.
Definitely.
Yes. Yes. So, that's so far, that's the work that has been done. But they want to put a certain sense of urgency to this break is to allow all teams to do an introspection, study the material that's been made available, and then bounce back on the 2nd of October.
That's more like just about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks break for them. And then they reconvene. And it's very interesting you talk about the cross-examination, because that's just going to be another layer of this committee's work, is it not? And that if they're going to now allow cross-examination of the witnesses.
Yes.
Questions have been raised about the committee's mandate in the terms of reference, whether all of this falls within the committee's term of reference to allow this cross-examination go on. Did that ever come up in any of the conversations?
Yes, there's been times where people have, even yesterday, one of the objections that was raised by lawyer Kwame on behalf of the IGP was that the committee was overstepping its bounds in some of the matters that they were seeking to look into. And Atacha has said that for them, they'll leave no stone unturned. Whatever it takes for them to get to the root of the problem, they will do it, because at the end of the day, they are not just a fact-finding committee. They are also supposed to make recommendations for the reform of the police service. So that omnibus allowance is what they are really cashing in on to try and do some of these things. But of course, today he told us that the committee would want to really do its work expeditiously. I think we heard it in the tape, that they would want to do their work as quickly as possible and dispense it off with and give their report to the speaker, so that, this conversation about our internal security setup would rest a bit and Ghanaians can rest easy. So he mentioned that, for instance, this issue about 82 police officers suing the IGP over promotions, they wouldn't want to go into that too much because that may be straying away from the core mandates that they've been given. I also personally asked him about a petition that had been sent to them by a group of retired police officers and how they were going to treat it. If we're in court, that would say that they had filed an amicus brief trying to help the committee to do their work. He said they were still studying the issues and they are very mindful of the fact that they do not want to stray into other areas which will not really be of importance and of benefit to the committee. So if they find out that really the matters are not that germane, and it's in the remit of another body than what they would ordinarily consider doing, they would classify it as such and let these senior police officers retired find their own level with another body that would be properly constituted, so-called, to do that, and not them. Yes.
I see. So this committee reconvenes October 2.
October 2 to October through to October 5th, where they will finish their work.
Fantastic. Duke, thank you so much.
As always, welcome.
For the updates. Duke Mensah Poku is a man who's been sitting through this 7-member ad hoc committee's hearings since the beginning of this whole interrogation or the probe into the leaked audio tape capturing a plot to have the president remove the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akuffo-Dampare. And these are some of the things that played out, especially on how this recording was done, which is still a subject of interrogation for this committee. Daniel Bugri Nabu was before the committee earlier today. He is giving the committee a fuller version of the 45 minutes audio, which was earlier tendered in. So we have no clear indication of how long this new audio that Bugri Nabu has given to the committee is, but obviously it's beyond the 45 minutes. We do know, and some have quoted 2 hours. We cannot independently check that. But this is about the recording. IGP insists that he had no hand in it.
I want you to speak directly to this particular accusation. Did you play any role in respect of the recording of the leaked audio?
Honorable Chair, like the chairman asked initially, I did not play any role in it.
Now, IGP, you also read through the proceedings and you would find that in it, you may want to respond to this in the open. I don't know how it sits with you, but you were also accused of being the worst IGP this country has ever had. How did you receive the accusation, and what is your reaction?
Honorable Chair, thank you very much. Honorable Chair, I think probably my brother wanted to say I'm the best and he missed it.
It's live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. That's the IGP there. Well, another thing that came out yesterday from this ongoing inquiry has been the police's handling of external communication with the public, and especially journalists, for the matter. Appearing before the committee yesterday, Dr. George Akuffo-Dampare said the Ghana Police Service collectively took a decision to centralize its communication engagement with the media as part of its transformation agenda.
It is something we have discussed at POMAM, agree upon a strategy for redefining our engagement with the public in a manner that sits well with international best practice. You have had a system where you get up in the morning, everybody across the country, across at times district, division, and regional level, granting interviews on matters of police from a perspective that at times not informed by the full facts. And at the end of it all, when the facts come, the organization look unpresentable, and you keep dampening the spirit of the organization and continue to smear the image of the service in bad light. So we agreed at POMA that we need to redefine it as part of our transformation agenda, such that at the end of the day, before you speak to a matter, be sure that you have the full facts, so that gradually we'll create a system where something happened and the whole community, the whole people will say that until the police have come out, we don't believe what is being said. Rather than having a system where everybody is talking, would have truth, and putting the police in bad light because people think that it's coming from the police, it's not creditworthy. How can we then win the hearts and minds of the public for them to partner with us to police them in a manner that will make the country feel at peace? So all this matter
It's not the invention of Dampari. It is something that we've looked at and then got all the commanders at all levels involved and get their input before it's handled. Because I quite remember a police management with regional commanders meetings were held and all the PROs were brought and they deliberated on this. And we all saw that this is good for the organization.
Well, that's George Akuffo-Dampari, the IGP. But for the former executive director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Professor Kwame Karakari, the approach, though understandable, needs refining and some review, as it doesn't address all questions posed by the public and the media whenever just a statement is issued by the police when an incident happens and they are not readily available for the media to ask further questions to get some clarity beyond the statement that is issued.
Well, I'm saying that if this is the way they want to go, I hope they make sure that the new system they are putting in place is good enough for their image and their image and also the efficiency of dealing with the public. If that doesn't help them, I hope they will continually improve the system to get the best out of it. Because it is important that the police's image is good enough for the public. It is good that the police provide accurate, reliable, and usable information for the public. Because so that the public can have the confidence in working with the police in combating crime, in instituting or bringing about law and order and so on. If dealing with the public does not improve or does not help that situation, then they will have to blame.
Well, but they may be thinking that they are doing their best in communicating to the public.
But the media, as far as the media are concerned, nobody, no institution, no public office holder is above criticism. So if the media find what the IGP and his men are doing now as inefficient, let them, the media should raise the issue. They should raise the issue, critically and dialogue with them to improve the system. But let's face it, sometimes too, the inefficiencies of the media, also contribute to people closing up the provision of information. But the important thing is that the media must raise these issues strongly with the police service. If what the police service are doing now is not helping their work, they should dialogue with the GJA, GIBA. They must sit down with the IGP. I believe this IGP is somebody who is accessible in terms of exchanging ideas and views with institutions and other organizations.
So that's Professor Kwame Karakari there, sharing his thoughts on the Ghana Police Service's position on the concerns that journalists especially have raised about their decision not to grant interviews to the media and just issuing statements whenever there's an incident and denying, especially the media and by extension the public, further and better clarity on the statements that they issue, and is calling for a review of that position by the Ghana Police Service. Let's go straight into issues of politics now, where only 23% of first-time voters say they are affiliated to the governing New Patriotic Party. That's according to the latest survey by the Global Info Analytics. 24% are affiliated with the main opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC. Amongst voters who did not vote in 2020, 49% of the respondents say they will vote for the NDC's candidate as John Mahama, and only 20% said they would vote for the NPP candidate in the presidential elections. So what does the latest survey mean for the ongoing limited voter registration exercise and by extension the 2024 elections? And bear in mind that the limited voter registration exercise, the Electoral Commission has also reviewed is target of the number of new or first-time voters who are going to register, expected to register, and those who did not also register to take part in the 2020 general elections. Musa Dankwa is Executive Director of Global Info Analytics. He's joining us on the telephone. Musa Dankwa, thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition. So I see that in the first part of your analysis, that only 23% of the first-time voters say they're affiliated with the NPP, but in the NDC case, you see 24%. Now, what's the methodology that you employed in this survey that you just put out?
Thank you very much. This is not a new survey that we did. This was part of the July 2023 National Opinion Poll that we published. And in that poll, we analyzed the responses of people who said they were voting for the first time, and those who said they are experienced voters. And when we analyzed, we saw that about 23% of people who have not voted before, first-time voters, said they belong to the NPP, and 24% of them said they belong to NDC. A huge number is about 30% said they were floating voters. And then you have a small number saying that they belong to other parties. That is about 4%, and then 20% did not disclose the party that they belong to. So you could see that the traditional parties are kind of losing affiliation when it comes to first-time voters. And many of the first-time voters are now saying they are floating voters, and probably as a threat to the traditional parties in terms of party affiliation.
I see. So apart from this, the first-time voters, what's this sample? I just want to understand the sample population type.
Right. We sampled about 5,600 and something voters in that July poll, of which about 13% of all people interviewed were first-time voters. So first-time voters was quite a substantial number in the population that we interviewed.
I see. That's 13%.
Yeah, 13%. Yeah.
Were first-time voters. That's the 13% of the over 5,600 that you sampled.
In fact, it is 5,840.
5,840.
Yes.
I see. Now, what was the location? I mean, how widespread were these respondents? Was it across the 16
the
regions?
respondents came from all the 16 regions and from 82 constituencies across the country.
82 constituencies in all 16
across the country.
and
Yes.
across the 16 regions.
Yes.
And I know that after a survey like this, you'd always put together the outcomes, and it points to a particular direction. What did this tell you? I mean, after
No, in fact, it's quite telling. If you look at the responses of people who said they were first-time voters, and we asked them who do they intend to vote for in the election between NDC and NPP, you have 29% saying they're going to vote for NPP's candidate, and then 53% voting for NDC's candidate among first-time voters, and 7% said someone else, and 11% said they will not vote. In fact, if you look at their compatriots, people who have experience in voting, 35% intend to vote for NPP's candidate, and 50% intend to vote for NDC's candidate, and then 7% said someone else, and 7% said they will not vote. So if you see, there is a higher voter apathy, I will not vote, among first-time voters than the experienced voters. That is why I've been championing that the first-time voters should be encouraged. It should be made easy for them to register to vote, because they have the highest proportion of I will not vote.
And how does this Electoral Commission decision to limit the voting, the registration to the district offices alone, also have the possibility of impacting on the voter apathy, as you talk about, where people say, look, I'm not going to vote in 2024?
I mean, in some cases, when you see, the problem is not going to be in the urban constituencies, because it's easy to move around in the urban constituencies. But in the rural constituencies, where the distance between the center and the electoral areas are very vast, you will end up disemphasizing people, because people will not be able to have the funds to move around to register. And they may not even have the time if they have to spend 3 hours or the whole day traveling to go and register. And I think that is not something that we should encourage as a young democracy.
I thank you very much, Musa, for your time. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
Musadankwa is a director of Global Info Analytics. They've done a survey indicating that about out of 5,840 respondents to the survey, 13% of them are first-time voters. And out of that 13%, 53% say they would vote for the NDC's John Mahama, as against 35% who say they would vote for whoever the NPP chooses as its flag bearer going into the 2024 general elections. Let's stay a bit further on the issues relating to the voting, elections, and matters arising. Because with this ongoing voter registration exercise, the Law Society of Ghana has urged the Electoral Commission to review its stance on the limited voter registration currently ongoing across the country. The call comes in the wake of the numerous challenges that have characterized the exercise, such as network problems and malfunctioning of equipment deployed by the Electoral Commission. In a statement, the society said the decision to restrict registration to only district offices and the reported widespread malfunctioning of registration machines presented significant challenges to the integrity and sanctity of the electoral process as a whole. The EC has been hit by multiple lawsuits, all seeking to halt the registration. At a news conference on Tuesday, main opposition NDC accused the Electoral Commission of deploying non-functional registration equipment to its strongholds. As chair of the NDC, Johnson Esiedun Ketia.
But 90% of centers were not able to print out the required start of the day printout across the country. The breakdowns are politically selective. There is not more than 2 centers where these breakdowns are happening, which are in the stronghold of NPP. This same judiciary can find time to grant injunctions against people who intend to demonstrate against corruption at Bank of Ghana with alacrity. And yet, that same judicial system cannot find time and space to grant such an important injunction. We wish to emphasize that the EC's decision to proceed with the limited voter registration exercise today, despite being served with 2 injunction applications from the courts, contradicts an important precedent.
The Electoral Commission that has targeted to register under 1 million persons. This was after they reviewed their target from 1.3 million 2 days ago, who have turned 18 years old since the last registration exercise in 2020. David Komiado is executive director of the Care Ghana, that is a civil society organization that is championing free and fair elections in Ghana and beyond. Is joining us on the telephone. We're monitoring this exercise. Zado, thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition. This is day 2 of the limited voter registration exercise. We've been doing some monitoring as well. What have you observed?
Thank you, Alfred. Good morning to yourself and good morning to your cherished listeners. We've gone round to some few registration centers, and what we are seeing coming from that side, the centers, is not good. I think that immediately the Electoral Commission must do something about what is happening. There is so much overcrowding at the registration centers, the district offices of the Electoral Commission. And the issue I think a lot of people who have monitored this registration are talking about is the breakdown of their equipment. It is bringing enormous difficulty to the applicant, and most of the places tempers rise. So a little word to somebody who doesn't feel okay with, then it sparks some sort of fight. I think that the Electoral Commission immediately must do something. First of all, what we think is that the Electoral Commission must open up the registration centers at least at electoral areas, so that the overcrowding that we are seeing. See, in 2020, Ghana Statistical Service, their research told us that by 2023, we are going to have 19 million turning 18 and above who will be eligible to participate in elections, public elections in this country, if they wish, as the Constitution has stated. Commission, the number of people on the current voters register is 17,007,641. And the Electoral Commission is telling us that they are anticipating that 700,000 people will come and register. Alfred, what happens to the rest of the almost 3 million? What will happen to them? The Electoral Commission is underestimating the number of people who will be turning 18. Those who are mandated with this responsibility, that's the Ghana Statistical Service, has done their work and it's come out with this figure that from 2020 to 2023, we can have close to 2 million people who will turn 18 to add on to the 17 million on the current voters register. Since the Electoral Commission is understating this figure, so it gives it the laxity to be able to say that, okay, then we are using only 268 district offices of the EC. It is not going well. We are toying with our democracy. The elections, the vanguard of every democracy is elections. The vanguard of every democracy is elections. An electoral commission must watch what's happening on the African continent, the Sahel belt and West Africa. Who here today, who here tomorrow? All of us are trying to guard this country against that particular fact. We are praying and working hard for the sustenance of our democracy. The Electoral Commission seems not to understand what is occurring on the African continent. I think that they must be told so that we will not be walking that path. Immediately, the Electoral Commission, seeing what is happening at the district offices, see, there's one of the places we went. It was as if people had come to stadium. It was as if people had come to the stadium and there were no place for people to sit. People were sitting on the floor. Some were standing. Those that were in the queue, they stand in the queue for a long time. And the equipment of the Electoral Commission, the system is very slow. Very, very slow. Alfred.
See, so what has been your recommendation to the EC after this observation over the last 48 hours?
Well, we recommend to the EC that immediately they should dispatch more equipment to the district offices, and where there are only 2 registration centers, it should be 5 or 6. And then again, the Electoral Commission should open a new registration center in the electoral areas. If the Electoral Commission is unable to do that at the polling centers, which we have said that the reason behind registering at the polling center is to know where exactly your polling center is, like where registration center to be at the polling center, so that you know that tomorrow, as a first-time voter who is inexperienced, don't know the names of the polling centers and where my way about. At least when I go to register at Adjoa Ata Registration Center and that place a polling center, I know that is where I am voting tomorrow. But the Electoral Commission says there's no sense in that. That is fine. Now you should open it up to registration centers and also add more registration centers at the district offices so that the lines will be quick. People are getting tired.
Right.
Tempers are rising, so that we will not have any challenge with this particular registration exercise.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. As Executive Director of the Society NGO pushing for free and fair elections across the continent. And their focus now is on Ghana. David Komiado, Executive Director of Care Ghana. Appreciate your time. Let's stay a bit further on issues with elections. Flag bearer hopefuls of the governing New Patriotic Party are now in the knowledge of what exactly their positions will be that's on the ballot papers on going into the November 4 presidential primaries. Kenny Japan has picked the first position on the ballot paper for the party's upcoming presidential primaries slated for November 4, 2023. That's the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, picked the second position. Former Minister for Agric, Dr. Osefriye picked the third position, and the former member of parliament for the Mampong constituency, Francis Adainimo, picked the fourth position. This follows a balloting exercise conducted by the elections committee of the NPP in collaboration with officials from the Electoral Commission for the contestants held earlier today. Professor Aaron Michael Kwame is chair of the elections committee of the NPP.
Ascertain that everybody who is involved will be really in the know. And in fact, part of the process, as we were jokingly saying, we have got our own IPAC so that it will guide the process. And it's not going to be a one-day event. It is going to continue until the day we have the election, and even thereafter. We have resolved a number of issues and requests made by the aspirants themselves. We have among the gentlemen here by themselves Honorable Adam Nimo and Honorable Kereji present, and also representatives of the Vice President, Honorable Dr. Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Baria, as well as Dr. Akoto Efriye. He's not to say Akoto, he's Akoto Efriye. And we'll now just let you know, first and foremost, the basic things that we agreed upon, so that there's an even playing field. We have agreed basically on all these, and each one has a copy. And we are going to finalize it and then present it to the national executive of our party, the chairman, the secretary, and other relevant persons. We are generally agreed that there will be nothing like camping of persons, so that people will come freely and vote freely on this occasion. The EC officials were present even at the earlier meeting, so that we'll be able to iron out these formalities very, very clearly. And we don't say one thing here and then on the ground the same something else is happening. And we are going to meet the police together with the EC officials, so that everybody sings from the same hymn book on that day. No officials, regional party people, etc., can have any influence on that day. You go to your own constituency and vote, and then you are done. You will not have accreditation to enter any other area, so that there will be no allegations of some people being at certain places and influencing voters and so on and so forth. So that at the end of the day, it's clear and clean. We know from the past that there had been a lot of problems about proxies. People sometimes come and no one really can tell until the last minute.
That's Professor Aaron Michael Kwame, chair of the NPP election committee. And let's hold on to politics, getting to issues of Greek, but obviously with some politics in there. But the member of parliament for the Senafo South constituency, Eric Opoko, is saying that government has shortchanged cocoa farmers in the country. He asserts that the farmers have been treated unfairly by giving them what they do not deserve. According to the member of parliament, Eric Opoko, the new cocoa price announced by the president, that's 1,308 for a bag of cocoa, is a total cheat. He said that cocoa farmers deserve a price of not less than 2,500 cedis per bag.
Every 1977, yenya cocoa akoso da safiwe features na dia to cocoa New York no eno no koso cocoa wo na e koso un cocoa wo wa go chire nura eye $3,808 $3,808 no ahana peso tie mi ye ebiasi nyina omai ba ku bi o wa nyakopo ehira no onu na ni koko ye papa echa yaman nyina enti so bia koto ni koko na wato wi a wo kofie no yes so my we na di koko papa ba ye the best quality cocoa in the world.
Well, the minority leader Kesela Tuforsin, in taking his turn during this press conference, described the NPP government as insensitive and that they do not have the interests of cocoa farmers at heart.
Cocoa bag biara NDC for yen shishai kahena yawa bema and kabag bia yetibamamo 225 million cities. Then the premium at Tono, the Kakao 28 million Ghana cities. Bago. Sanka President Mahama, and then Kaoye Ghana Mampenina. In the end, he's a banny or one Kabak Biela 25. Yet the bonus 300 a few, 28 million.
That's Dr. Kesler Tofo saying there. Now, so this cocoa politics, it's not very new. After the president's announcement of the 1,308 per bag increase, there's been some concerns raised that this price could have gone higher, and the NDC has been very consistent on that. Cocoa Board has also been hitting back. We understand the NPP is also addressing the press on this same matter, and colleague Noble Crosby Annan is there. Noble, so what's the NPP been saying in response to the NDC's position on this new cocoa prices?
Right, Alfred. So we know that political parties in Ghana, they frequently engage in campaigns centered around promises to improve cocoa prices or support farmers in an effort to recognize the political importance of the cocoa sector. Coming on the back of the increase of the cocoa price, that's about a 63.5% increase in the cost of the cash crop, and that is the highest in 15 years across the West African sub-region. So in this high-stakes cocoa price showdown, coming on the back of the comments by the NDC, the NPP's Director of Communications, Richard Aheba, is firing back at the NDC's recent press conference, accusing them of spreading misinformation and twisting the facts. So essentially, Richard Aheba is saying that the NPP remains unwavering in its commitment to bolstering cocoa farmers' livelihoods and ramping up the cocoa production setup. Richard Aheba is saying that all the numbers put out by the NDC are not true, and they were miscalculated, whether it was intentional or an oversight. But he thinks that it's a deliberate attempt by the NDC to throw dust in the eyes of farmers, in the eyes of Ghanaians, because the NDC, when they were in power for the previous 8 years they were in office, they refused or were unable to increase the prices of cocoa. So how then do they turn around to accuse the NPP, who have increased the price of the cash crop, that they could have increased it more, when the NDC did not even put a percentage increase in the price of cocoa? Essentially, that is what the NPP is saying now.
Appreciate your fathers. Thank you. Noble Crosby Annan with the quick updates from the NPP press conference. Let's get into business now. Anika, what's happening?
Well, the whole cocoa conversation and Noble saying it's a showdown, the back and forth between government and
everything
the NPP.
Is a showdown.
Everything is a showdown lately. Yeah. Well, there's a showdown in the price of inflation. It has dropped by 3% from 43.1 to 40.1%, and that is the rate for the month of August. This means that between August 2022 and August 2023, rate of price increase has dipped by 3% amidst the city stability. Food, such as cereal and cereal products, continue to drive inflation. Prices of food, such as vegetables, tubers, plantain, fish, and seafood, continue to drive inflation. And the rate of price increase has slowed for the first time in 5 months.
Consistent with inflation in the past months, food and non-alcoholic beverages contribute more than half of the inflation rate that was recorded in the month of August 2023. Specifically, in August 2023, food contributed in excess of 55% of the 40.1% inflation that was recorded for the month of August 2023. This was distantly followed by housing, water, electricity and gas, and other fuels that contributed 10.8% to the inflation rate that was recorded for the month of August 2023. For the first time in several months, we're seeing the clothing and footwear division being the third contributor to the overall inflation, therefore overtaking the contribution of transport, which contributed 6.9% for the month of August 2023, and clothing and footwear contributing 7.1% of the 40.1% inflation that was recorded for the month of August 2023. The division that contributed the least to inflation rate was insurance and financial services, that contributed 0.1% to the August rate of inflation.
And you heard the government statistician there. Meanwhile, the Ghana Employers Association has called on governments to roll out a robust policy to reduce inflation. President of the association, Daniel Ichampong, was reacting to the current inflation rate, which has dropped from 43.1% to 40.1%.
According to the Ghana Statistical Service, the year-on-year inflation rate for the month of July 2023 stood at 43.1%. which is still very high, compared to the same period in 2022, where it stood at 31.7%. The Monetary Policy Committee, at its 113th meeting held from 19th to 21st July 2023, increased the policy rate by 50 basis points to 30% from the then 29.5%. This has yet again caused an elevation in the borrowing costs, posing a major challenge to employers and businesses in the country. We urge government to work through the monetary and fiscal authorities to craft rapid.
And that was President of the Ghana Employers Association, Daniel Ichampong there. Now, still with the Employers Association, it is calling on government to grant 2 years tax holidays for businesses. According to the association, this will allow businesses recoup revenue lost following the COVID pandemic. The Chief Executive Officer is concerned about revenue shortfall due to the outbreak, and he has asked government to grant tax holidays for them.
Some industries have been worse hit. Others have been able to overcome the challenges. So I'm sure this is the right time for them to, those who are really suffering, to make a case for the GRA to also look at how they can work together to achieve this laudable suggestion that we are making.
And in a related development, the association has expressed concern about the closure of shops by members of the Ghana Union of Traders Association. Guta cited harassment by the officers of the Ghana Revenue Authority. President of the Ghana Employers Association, Daniel Ichampong, pleaded with the GRA to stop the shop closure.
We have noticed a trend where officials of the authority close down enterprises for reasons of various tax irregularities, should I say alleged, during sessions of their inspection exercises. The GA holds the view that this approach does not aid business progress and sustainability, since in the business community, each minute lost without operation is revenue lost to the enterprise and to the state.
Well, it wasn't alleged, so the GRA actually said the shop closures were due to the VAT irregularities as well as irregularities amongst the tax receipts. So, well, that was the president of the Ghana Employers Association, Daniel Ichampong, there, pleading with the Ghana Revenue Authority to stop the closure of shops. I'm sure we'll be getting some reactions on that as well as some other business stories. But log on to 3news.com. There's more business news. I'm Nana Ekuya Mensah Brampa. Billy Shen is next with sports.
Thank you, Nanika. It's time for sports here on the Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Bill Ishen, and we're going to start off from the Black Stars. Now, the three sports team asked Ghanaians in the crowd to choose between Antoine Semenyo and Iñaki Williams to lead the line for the Black Stars in the future. This was their reply.
Between Iñaki Williams and Antoine Semenyo, they have differences and similarities. But Iñaki Williams loves to play from the flanks. Ubenya Nkobo as a winger. No Oko Rani, Oko Bilbao, Amunian, Ever Strike, no about everyone in chain. But the Black Stars, we always want the guy to be the arrowhead. In fact, so to me, I think Semenyo can start as a arrowhead. To me, Semenyo is good. Yeah, Semenyo is good. Because the movement, the speed, they are good. In my opinion, I prefer Semenyo. Why? Because he's been on the pitch with the Ghanaian players for a while. He knows the Ghanaian play style and everything. You can see Bilbao, he's being played more on the wings. But aside that, Semenyo is far better on the number 9 than Iñaki.
Yeah, I also prefer Semenyo because he plays more like a false number 9, like a Benzema type. I prefer Iñaki because he's been playing for a while now. You see, Semenyo just came back from injury and at Bournemouth, he's barely starting.
Well, you heard from the fans there on who to pick between Iñaki Williams and Antoine Semenyo to lead the Black Stars for the future. Now, here are the 24 teams that have qualified for the African Cup of Nations, which will come off in Ivory Coast next year. Ivory Coast, of course, is going into the tournament as host. Ghana is also a part of it. Algeria, Angola, Burkina Faso, Mali, Mauritania, Morocco, Mozambique, Cameroon, Cape Verde, DR Congo, Egypt, Namibia, Nigeria, Senegal, South Africa, Equatorial Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Tanzania, the Gambia, Tunisia, and Zambia. So these are the 24 teams that will be participating in the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations tournament. Now, to some more local stories, Ghana under 23 goalkeeper William Esu has called upon the Ghana Football Association and the Sports Ministry to release the winning bonuses owed to the team from the under 23 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers victory over Algeria in March 2023. This is exactly what he said to Ibrahim Tanko, which surfaced on social media earlier today. He said, "Please, coach, with reference to my illness during our Black Meteors camping for the past AFCON, which made me miss out on the squad. Since I've been to several health centers to ensure that I'll be fit and fight for my wellness, I've spent all the money that I've saved, and so I'm writing to request. I humbly request to release our bonus for the match we played against Algeria for the qualifier to us, so that I can use it for my medical care." Those are the words that Esu released to Coach Ibrahim Tanko. So we see what actually comes out from that. We hope that he actually gets his bonus, and also some other players who played for the Black Meteors at that time. And before I do go, former Real Madrid forward Gareth Bale has showered praises on England midfielder Jude Bellingham following his performances since joining the Spanish side this summer. He has scored 5 goals in 4 La Liga appearances this season.
I haven't seen an awful lot, to be honest, but yeah, he's obviously had a great start at Madrid. Obviously, he's scoring goals, which is important, especially at a club like that, and to get off to a good start at life at Madrid.
Well, that brings an end to the sports segment. My name is Bill Shen. Standing by is Akofa with entertainment.
Thank you very much, Bill. It's now time for the entertainment news here on Hot Edition. We begin with two-time BET Best International Flow nominee Black Sheriff, who is partnered with Italian sports apparel company Elise for the Santoria 2023 men's collection. Now, the announcement was made via the official handles, with Blacko captured in images and videos with Swiss singer-songwriter Priya Raghu as faces of Elise's Santoria 4AW23. In the promotion video, Black Sheriff's Yaya track of his Take Care of Blacko's EP was heard. Congratulations to Blacko on yet another feat chalked. Away from that, let's turn our attention to Nigeria, where 27-year-old Nigerian rapper, songwriter, and former signee of Malian Records, Mohbad, has passed. According to entertainment journalist OV on X, the rapper passed on Tuesday, 12 September 2023. However, the cause of death is still not clearly known. Mohbad left Malian Records in 2022. He was known for hit songs like Ponmo, Feel Good, and he has also bagged 3 nominations at Headies Awards 2022. May he rest in peace. Still in Nigeria, Afrobeat star Rema keeps breaking records with his hit song Calm Down remix featuring Selena Gomez, as he becomes the first African artist to win an MTV VMA's Moon Person for the new Best Afrobeats category. Now, following the lead of American Music Awards and Grammys, MTV Music Video Awards added the Best Afrobeats category to the award scheme this year. Calm Down remix featuring Selena Gomez, since its release, has chalked many successes, including climbing as high as number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, being the first Afrobeat song to hit 1 billion streams on Spotify, amongst others.
Africa in the house tonight.
Big shout out to Fela, who started Afrobeat in the first place. You know? To Baba, Don Jazzy, the band, the Prince, Runtown, Timaya, Two-Face, Wizkid, Burna Boy, Davido. And I want to give a big shout out to the new generation of Afrobeat.
And that ends it for the entertainment news here on Hot Edition, powered by 3 Entertainment. My name is Akofa. Thanks for your time, Alfred.
Definite. You're back at 8 o'clock.
With Wind Down.
Connect with me at 10 p.m. for Ghana Tonight on TV3. On behalf of the rest of the team, we appreciate your company here on Hot Edition. The drive continues. Have a great evening.